on Sactown Sports 1140.
That's how upside down this basketball season is for us around here. It's a feel-good win last night that for some is kind of a feel-bad win because of what it does to the Kings in the old lottery standings. Alan, I mean, you lit the beam for the first time in many weeks, and Russ showed the world whatever it was he wanted to show the world, and team was behind him, and crowd was, as always, behind the Kings. Even Malik talked about that. Malik with a 30-point game last night.
That's right.
But what does that do to the Kings in the lottery standings? They're 15-50, so they're just half a game worse now than the Pacers, whom they play tomorrow night. So the Kings have been sitting there in worst place for so long, it started to feel like, well, they're going to end up with the worst record. But second, third, even fourth, definitely in play for the Kings now.
I'm telling you, and I looked this up today, Whitey, and it's not always fair because the Clippers are listed on Tankathon as an easy team based on their record, but we know that the Clippers are not necessarily an easy team. So the Kings now have the fourth easiest schedule remaining, but the issue is if you look at the other teams, the Wizards have the second hardest schedule, and the Pacers have about the sixth or seventh hardest schedule. So a lot of these teams that are in the mix with the Kings have much harder schedules, which means they are more likely to lose those games. The Kings are still sitting at the fourth easiest schedule in the league.
I still think there are a lot of people who don't understand how the lottery works. Primarily, that's because they have many more important things to do. So I'm not saying, if you're a fan, you should know these. It's very confusing. So do you think, Alan, we should just look at the odds and the difference between being first, second, and third here? It's a lot of numbers, but just to give a sense of what's at stake here?
Sure.
Okay. So if you have the worst record, you have a 14% chance of getting the first pick. Since they flattened the odds to the current levels, no team that finished worse has gotten the first pick. Second pick, your odds 13.4%. Third pick, 12.7%. Fourth pick, 12%. Fifth pick, 47.9%. But that's the worst you can do.
Right.
That's why Alan thought, this thing isn't working. It keeps coming up with the fifth pick. Right?
That's right. But, 50-50.
Yeah. So what really is a difference? What if I have the second pick? What's the difference, Alan? Do you have it there? Well, what are the odds? What am I really losing? If I have the second worst record as opposed to the first, what's the difference?
Yeah, well, the difference,
I still have a 14% chance at the first pick.
Right.
I still have a 13% chance at the second pick. I still have 12.7% chance at the third pick and a 12% chance at the fourth pick. So what's the difference?
The difference is you would have a 20% chance at the sixth pick.
The sixth pick?
Yeah.
I don't want the sixth pick.
That's not great. And if you get to third?
Yeah, third worst?
You have a 27% chance at the sixth pick and a 7% chance at the seventh pick.
If I fall to third in this, the seventh pick comes into play. Mm-hmm. Well, it can't be much worse if I have the fourth worst record, right?
Fourth worst, you got a 2.2% chance at the eighth pick, a 16% chance at the seventh pick, and a 24% chance at the sixth pick.
You're telling me basically if I'm fourth, I got a 1 in 4 chance of picking sixth.
Yeah. Yes,
I don't want that.
That's the best percentage, actually.
I don't want that.
I wouldn't want that either. I would not want that either. I don't think there's any way they get worse than that, but that's bad enough. And
yeah,
again,
I think they have enough of a cushion on would be fifth place Utah, where the worst they could do, I think, is fourth worst.
Yeah, I don't see it.
But that's no bueno.
No, I don't see it getting better than that. And by the way, just for fun, Utah has the 10th hardest schedule. So obviously not like Washington or Indiana, but they're still in the top 10. They're not at the bottom half like the Kings. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be losing.
Mm-hmm. So you said earlier, and I'm not holding you to this, and maybe I misunderstood you. You said you're not sure the Kings are really focusing on ending up with the worst record.
I don't think they are.
I don't know if they are or not. I can't imagine they wouldn't be. Maybe you're right. I don't have any inside information. That would be malpractice.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple rumors floating around about what the next move they will make.
Who they're shutting down next?
Yeah, I guess there's some stuff floating around, and we'll wait and see there. But, I mean, I think, for example, Whitey,
I know what he's talking about because we both heard the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say, don't think we're at liberty to say it quite yet.
We're not even sure it's true.
No, we're not. But I'll tell you this much. We're going to learn a lot about the Kings tomorrow, right? Because I'm assuming DeMar will be better because it was an illness, not, a true blue injury. If Russ, we're going to know pretty early, Whitey. If we are looking at Russ at 25, 30 minutes because, Siakam's playing well and it's a competitive game and they go after it, they get after it again, I think that it's pretty clear the Kings are just going to let this thing go naturally and they're going to try to win these games. I'll give you an example. It's very similar to what we talked about, and this is why I feel the way I feel, very similar to what we saw with the Pelicans. The Pelicans, that game – I know it was weird with the Maxime Reynaud versus Drew Eubanks thing. Drew
I
Eubanks
had the same
had a good game,
did,
but I mean, DeMar and Russ, they played legit minutes. They lost that game, but I don't think they were actively focusing on trying to lose that game.
Yeah, and I know that it makes sense. It seems reasonable to say, hey, you got to win one now and then. You got to win some of these games, especially at home. I understand that, but the thing is, Indiana's lost 9 in a row, and Washington has lost 8 in a row. And those teams are coming hard for worst place.
Yeah.
So you can say, well, we should win one here or there. It could be costly if you want to end up with a worse record.
Yeah, to me, how I feel about it is, you let the chips fall where they may. I don't know. The Pacers, the fact that they're playing Siakam is pretty interesting. But a game like tomorrow –
well, they probably have to in a way,
Yeah, no, I hear you. But
that's the league, and again, the league will be watching closely.
Yeah, I don't think some of these games. I don't think a game like tomorrow. I know it matters because it's head to head, but I don't think a game like tomorrow is a game that you have to lose, in my opinion, because I think there's always going to be a chance that you win against teams that are just bad. I think the question becomes when you get to these questionable teams, like the Hornets, for example. I know the Hornets have been playing much better, but if you go out there and you beat the Hornets twice or even beat them once, it's these questionable teams where if the Kings have a really good game, they could win. That's going to be the issue. I fully expect – I think the Bulls probably are in that conversation. Now, they look terrible, but I think looking forward here – I don't think they'll beat the Clippers, but, if you win one of these games against the Hornets, obviously the Jazz I would put in that category of you could beat that team. That's not a good team. But if you win one of these games against the Hornets, if you beat the Sixers, who you never know who the hell is playing for the Sixers, my boy Tyrese Maxey is now out. Mm-hmm. If you beat the Nets.
Wait, since when is he your guy?
Tyrese Maxey's always, don't do that.
No, I mean, he's pretty good. What makes him your guy?
Because I think he's very underrated. He's very underrated.
How long has he been your guy?
He's been my guy for a couple years. Ask Kyle Ledbetter. Because Kyle calls him a chucker, and I always have to defend him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think they're probably going to beat the Nets twice, but some of these kind of in-between teams.
That would be costly.
Yeah, the Hawks, the Magic, teams like that. They got the Pelicans again. Like teams like that, I think is where this thing could get. The Blazers at the end of the season. I think teams like that where, they're not playoff. This is what we were talking about earlier. The teams that aren't playoff teams or, maybe in the Eastern Conference at the bottom of the playoff standings, those are the games where I think this could get squirrely. But they're going to probably beat the Nets twice. They're going to beat the Pacers. They're going to, probably, win some of these games against the bad teams. It's just these in-between teams where I'm thinking you got to make sure that you secure the L. If that's what you want to do.
I know that drafts are sometimes impossible to predict, and you can have guys taken later on in the first round, sometimes in the second round, that end up being really good players, much better than players that went before them in some cases. Sometimes, as we know all too well here, sometimes guys who weren't drafted end up being really good players. So I understand all that. So we don't know. But I will say the more I watch and study, if you will, what's going on here, for all the talk of how, boy, this draft's 6, 7, 8 players deep, to me, it's what's been said from the very beginning that's still true, which is 1, 2, 3, and there is a gap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think even to your point, the Caleb Wilson thing, we're not going to get to see him play again, but he is somebody that I could easily see us talking about in 5 years. Man, he was so close to putting it together. You know, the jump shot question. He's a Debanza variant in a way.
Yeah.
But you could see us saying, hey, you went for the big swing instead of maybe one of these guards, but it either could work out for you big, it could not. You can't control it, but all you can do is try to put yourself in the best position.
The difference is between most drafts, I don't think that gap is such that you go 1, 2, 3 good players, then no one's very good. Mm-hmm. I think you drop off the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's some really good players in there, but those first 3 are so good.
Right.
You can't miss your shot at them if you're a team like the Kings.
Right. And going into next season, it seems like after 5, it seems as if the best player next season, I know there's one guy who's supposed to be really good, but it seems like the best 1 and 2 next season, that might be the equivalent of like 5 through 10 in this draft. So that's why it would be nice if you can to get into the top 3 and see what you can do, even top 4, but really the top 3.
More on the Kings when we come back. Also, we'll look at a home run that stretches the depth